Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Right.
This time, going back to 1957.
Back in time.
Yeah, a time when, well, the Cold War was kind of simmering. You know, the threat of nuclear annihilation was very real.
Mm-hmm.
And that was also the year that a Japanese sci-fi classic called The Mysterians.
Oh, yeah.
With the big screen.
It's a good one.
It introduced the world to a new kind of alien invasion.
It really did.
And we have a whole stack of sources here.
We do.
Everything from film reviews to like in-depth analyses of the tokusatsu genre.
Yeah.
And we're going to unpack all the fascinating layers of this film.
Those layers. We're going to peel them back one by one.
To get started, let's just talk about the Mysterians themselves.
Sure.
Who are these mysterious invaders?
They're mysterious.
And what do they want?
Well,
I mean, aside from looking really cool.
Yeah, aside from having great style.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, as you might have guessed from the name, they're shrouded in mystery. They are survivors of a planet called Mysteroid.
Destroyed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was destroyed by a nuclear war.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that would have definitely struck a nerve with audiences in 1957.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the fear of nuclear annihilation was very real back then.
Very real. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you can kind of see how the arrival of these Mysterians on Earth would just tap right into those anxieties.
Totally.
Yeah, and they come bearing advanced technology, too.
That's right, they do.
Right.
Including this giant robot named Moguera.
Moguera.
Yes.
Okay.
And a devastating heat ray.
Oh, yeah.
Which just makes them seem so incredibly powerful and dangerous.
Right. I mean, this is not just some, guys in a flying saucer.
Oh, no. They came to play.
They came to play.
They did. They came to stay.
And get married. Right.
That's right.
Their demands are pretty bold.
Yeah, their demands are very bold.
They want a piece of Earth and human women to intermarry with.
Just out of the blue, they just show up. And they're like, hey, we want this.
Yeah, this is what we need.
This is what we need.
Give it to us.
And that demand for intermarriage really adds such an interesting dimension to the characters.
It does?
And their whole kind of...
It makes it complicated, doesn't it?
To their characterization. Because it raises questions about their intentions.
Right. Like, what are they really up to?
Are they?
Is it just about survival, or is there something else going on?
Yeah. Are they benevolent refugees?
Right.
Or something more sinister?
Yeah.
It adds this layer of complexity that you don't often see in alien invasion films.
Yeah, not always so straightforward.
Right. It's not just about conquest anymore.
Right.
Right. They're facing a genetic crisis due to
radiation exposure?
Radiation exposure.
From the nuclear war that destroyed their planet.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So they see intermarriage with humans as a way to...
They need to fix their genes.
Ensure their species continuation.
Yeah, that's their plan.
Which, I mean, it kind of makes you wonder.
Right.
If that's their reasoning.
Yeah.
Could you see that as a justification for their actions?
I mean...
Even though their methods are...
Their methods are definitely questionable.
Definitely questionable.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
Like, do the ends justify the means in this case?
Right. I don't know.
That's a good question.
Okay, so...
So they've made their demands.
The Mysterians have made their demands. How does humanity react?
How do we react?
To this unprecedented threat?
Unprecedented threat. I mean, nobody's ever seen anything like this before.
Seen anything like this before?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, one of the things that the Mysterians highlights is the importance of global cooperation.
Okay.
In the face of
coming together
an existential threat like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, the film shows the formation of the Earth Defense Force.
Okay.
Which is a multinational military organization.
So it's not just one country.
It's everybody.
It's a united effort.
It has to be everybody or it's not going to work.
Which, again, I mean, really reflects the political climate of the time.
It does.
With, organizations like NATO forming to counter the Soviet threat.
Yeah, it's very much a product of its time.
Yeah.
But it's also a timeless message in a way.
It is.
It's like when faced with a threat like this, humanity needs to put aside its differences.
Right.
And work together.
Yeah, if we want to survive.
If we want to have a chance.
Right.
Yeah.
And that cooperation isn't limited to just the military.
No, it's not.
Right.
We see scientists from all over the world pooling their knowledge, sharing their research.
Trying to understand the Mysterians?
Yeah, and trying to figure out how to fight back.
Yeah, and develop some kind of countermeasures to this advanced technology.
It's a global effort on every level.
Right.
It's not just about brute force either.
Yeah.
It's about using human ingenuity to find a way to survive.
Okay.
And that leads to the development of the Markolite FAHP, or flying atomic heat projector.
Okay.
Which is this weapon that they create to counter the Mysterians' heat ray.
So it's like a technological race.
It is, just like the arms race that was happening in the real world between the U.S. and the Soviet Union.
Exactly.
Yeah, the film captures that anxiety about falling behind technologically.
Right.
About the other side having a weapon that could tip the balance of power.
I mean, it's scary stuff. It's scary stuff.
Yeah.
And speaking of technology, we have to talk about Moguera.
We do.
The Mysterians' giant robot.
One of the best.
This is one of the most iconic images from the film.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
And it really showcases their technological superiority.
I mean, if you can build a giant robot like that, you're ahead of the game.
Ahead of the game.
Yeah. So
Moguera is a fascinating creation.
Yeah, tell me about it.
It was originally conceived as a living monster.
Oh, wow.
But they decided to make it a robot.
Okay.
Which I think even further emphasizes the Mysterians' technological prowess.
Because they can build a giant robot that can do all this stuff.
That's right.
Right.
And it can fly.
And fly. And shoot missiles.
It's got it all.
Wow.
Yeah. And you know,
this thing is...
Moguera went on to have a legacy of its own, too.
Yeah.
It appeared in later Godzilla films.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as Moguera.
Okay.
An advanced anti-Godzilla weapon.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, it's this interesting connection that shows how the Mysterians...
It had legs.
It had legs.
This movie had legs.
It really did. It had an impact.
It influenced other films and left its mark on the tokusatsu genre.
But you know what I think is really interesting about Moguera?
Okay.
And about the Mysterians' technology in general. Yeah.
What it says about our own relationship with technology.
That's a good point.
You know, because on the one hand, technology can be a powerful tool for good.
Right.
For solving problems and improving our lives.
Sure.
But on the other hand, it can also be used for destructive purposes.
Right.
As the Mysterians demonstrate.
For sure.
With their weapons.
Yeah. I mean, think about it.
It's a powerful metaphor.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that tension between the potential benefits and the dangers of technology, that's something that we're still grappling with today.
Absolutely.
I mean, think about artificial intelligence.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it has the potential,
a huge potential,
to revolutionize many aspects of our lives.
Right.
But there are also those ethical concerns about control, bias, the possibility of unintended consequences.
Yeah.
So the Mysterians, in a way, is kind of a...
It's a cautionary tale.
Cautionary tale.
Yeah. It's reminding us that scientific progress without ethical considerations can have really unintended and potentially disastrous consequences.
So we've covered the Mysterians.
We have.
We've explored their motivations.
We did.
We've delved into some of the key themes that the film explores.
Yeah. There's one more thing.
There's one more thing.
One more piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
The Mysterians introduces us to this character who complicates things even further.
Okay.
Ryoichi Shiraishi.
Ryoichi Shiraishi.
The astrophysicist.
Okay.
This guy is fascinating.
Okay.
He adds this whole layer of moral ambiguity to the film.
Okay.
He disappears early on.
Vanishes.
And then resurfaces as a collaborator with the Mysterians.
What? Really?
It's a shocker.
That's a pretty shocking turn of events.
Yeah, you don't see it coming.
What could possibly drive a brilliant scientist to betray his own people and side with these invaders?
Well, the sources suggest a few possibilities. Okay.
One is that Shiraishi is drawn to the Mysterians' advanced science.
Okay.
And he sees them as a potential solution to Earth's problems.
Okay.
You know, he was already theorizing about life on other planets before they arrived.
Right.
So maybe he sees them as this source of knowledge that could benefit humanity.
But it's a risky gamble.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it?
Big time.
Because he's essentially...
He's putting all his eggs in one basket.
Yeah, he's putting his faith in a group of aliens.
Yeah, who've already shown they're not afraid to use force to get what they want.
They're not messing around.
They're not messing around. So it makes you wonder, are his motivations purely scientific?
Right.
Or is there something more personal going on?
Maybe he's disillusioned with humanity.
Maybe.
Or sees the Mysterians as offering a chance for a fresh start.
It's possible.
It's a complex character.
It is.
With complex motivations.
And that complexity makes him all the more fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, of course, there's his ultimate oh, right, which adds another layer of intrigue to his story.
His sacrifice to help Earth defeat the Mysterians.
Yeah, what's that all about?
It does raise those questions.
It does.
It's about redemption.
Yeah, like, did he regret his decision to collaborate with them?
It's a moment that's really open to interpretation.
Absolutely.
And it really adds to the film's overall theme of moral ambiguity.
There are no easy answers in this film.
Right.
No clear-cut heroes and villains.
Yeah.
Just characters who are flawed.
Yeah.
Who make mistakes.
Right.
And who are forced to confront the consequences of their actions.
Okay, so I think we've laid the groundwork here.
I think we have.
For our deep dive into the Mysterians.
A good start.
We've met the invaders.
Yeah.
We've explored their motivations.
We sure have.
And we've delved into some of the key themes that the film explores.
The tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. But there's so much more to discuss.
There is so much more to talk about.
And we're going to go even deeper in the next part of our dive.
Buckle up.
Right.
We're going in.
We're going in.
Yeah.
We're going to examine the film's lasting legacy.
It's a big one.
Its impact on the sci-fi genre.
Huge.
And its continued relevance in today's world.
Can't wait.
So stay tuned.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
Welcome back. We're continuing our deep dive into the 1957 sci-fi classic, The Mysterians.
It's a classic.
Before the break, we were discussing Ryoichi Shiraishi.
Ah, yes, Shiraishi.
The astrophysicist who collaborates with the Mysterians.
Quite a character.
His story, it really adds a layer of complexity to the film's narrative.
It does. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Shiraishi's decision to side with the Mysterians.
Sounds like what?
It really forces us to confront some uncomfortable questions.
Like what?
Like, what are the ethical boundaries of scientific pursuit?
Right.
When does the quest for knowledge become a betrayal of our own species?
It's like he's caught between these two worlds.
He is.
Right? He's drawn to the Mysterians' advanced science.
Right.
But he's also aware of the potential danger they pose to humanity.
Exactly. It's like this tension between scientific curiosity and moral responsibility.
Right.
You know, is it justifiable to pursue knowledge even if it comes at a cost?
And that's a question that resonates even more strongly today.
It does, doesn't it?
As we grapple with advances in fields like artificial intelligence and genetic engineering.
Yeah, I mean, the power of technology is growing at an incredible rate.
It is.
And we have to consider the ethical implications of these advancements.
The Mysterian serves as a cautionary tale.
It does.
In a way.
It reminds us that scientific progress without ethical considerations can have unintended consequences.
Right.
And potentially disastrous consequences.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
And talk about the film's visual spectacle.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, The Mysterians is full of memorable imagery.
It is.
From the emergence of the Mysterians' dome to the destructive power of Moguera.
Oh, yeah, those special effects.
I mean, what are some of the visual elements that stand out to you?
Well, the dome itself is a striking image. It really represents the Mysterians' advanced technology and serves as a constant reminder of their presence on Earth.
Yeah, like it's just this looming...
It's looming. It's ominous.
Symbol of...
It's a symbol of their power and their otherness.
And then there's Moguera.
Oh, Moguera.
Stomping through cities, leaving a trail of destruction.
Crushing buildings.
It's that classic giant monster image.
It's iconic.
That has become a staple of the tokusatsu genre.
And you know, Moguera is more than just a mindless monster.
Right.
It's a symbol of the Mysterians' technological superiority.
Yeah.
The fact that they can create such a powerful machine, it really highlights the threat they pose to humanity.
And the film doesn't shy away from showing the destructive power of their technology.
Not at all.
The heat ray scenes in particular are pretty intense.
They are.
And they really drive home the danger
that
Earth is facing.
Those scenes are meant to evoke the fear of nuclear annihilation. Which was so prevalent during the Cold War.
Right.
You know, the Mysterians' weapons are a visual representation of that fear.
Yeah.
A reminder of the destructive power that humanity had unleashed upon the world.
Speaking of the Cold War, it's clear that the film is heavily influenced by the political climate of the time.
Absolutely.
We already talked about the formation of the Earth Defense Force, which mirrors the real-world alliances that were forming to counter the Soviet threat.
NATO and the like.
What are some other ways that the Mysterians reflects those Cold War anxieties?
Well, I mean, the Mysterians themselves can be seen as a metaphor for the Soviet Union.
Okay.
They're technologically advanced.
Right.
ideologically different. They pose a threat to the established world order.
Okay.
And their demand for land and intermarriage
Right.
could be interpreted as a parallel to fears of communist expansionism.
Yeah, like they're trying to infiltrate and subvert from within.
It plays on those fears that were very real at the time.
And the film's emphasis on global cooperation.
Yeah.
That can be seen as a reflection of the need for unity.
Absolutely.
In the face of a common enemy.
We have to band together or we're doomed.
Yeah.
That's the message.
It's a message that would have resonated with audiences.
Who are living under the constant threat of nuclear war.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was the reality back then.
But beyond those Cold War parallels, the Mysterians also explores some timeless themes.
It does.
That continue to resonate with audiences today.
For sure.
And one of those themes is the importance of human connection.
Yeah.
And the bonds that unite us, even in the face of adversity.
Even when the world's falling apart.
Right.
We still have each other.
Yeah.
And that's what matters.
Despite the threat posed by the Mysterians.
Right.
The film shows how people come together to support each other.
Yeah.
And fight for their survival.
It's about resilience.
Yeah.
The human spirit.
Yeah, there are moments of love.
Yeah.
Sacrifice. Heroism.
That transcend the sci-fi trappings of the story.
Exactly.
It's about more than just aliens and robots.
Yeah, for example, the relationship between Joji Itsumi, the pilot.
Right.
And Itsuko Shiraishi, the astronomer's daughter.
Yeah.
It adds this human dimension to the film.
It does.
Their love story unfolds amidst the chaos.
Yeah, amidst all the destruction. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, love can still bloom.
Love can still bloom.
Hope can still exist.
Yeah.
Human connection is what keeps us going.
And then there's the character of Dr. Adachi.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Adachi, the scientist.
The scientist who leads the effort to develop a weapon against the Mysterians.
He's like the epitome of human ingenuity.
Right, he represents the best of humanity.
The drive to innovate, the willingness to collaborate.
Yeah.
The commitment to protecting others.
These characters remind us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, human resilience and the power of the human spirit can prevail.
It's an inspiring message.
It is.
And it's one that we need to hear now more than ever.
It's a message of hope.
It is.
And resilience that continues to resonate with audiences today.
Especially in a world that often feels uncertain and unpredictable.
Right.
The Mysterians reminds us that even when faced with seemingly insurmountable challenges, we have the capacity to overcome them.
Yeah.
Through ingenuity, cooperation, and a belief in our shared humanity.
Okay, so we've talked about the Cold War influences.
Yeah.
The visual spectacle. The human element.
Yeah.
And those timeless themes.
The big stuff.
That make the Mysterians such an enduring film.
It's a classic for a reason.
But it's also important to recognize its place within the larger context of sci-fi cinema.
Yeah. How does the Mysterians fit into the evolution of the genre?
Right, and what kind of impact did it have?
Well, The Mysterians is considered a landmark film in the tokusatsu genre, which is known for its special effects and its live-action spectacle.
Yeah, all those practical effects.
Oh, yeah, the miniatures, the explosions, it's all part of the charm.
It really is.
And the Mysterians really helped to popularize giant monsters and alien invasion narratives in Japanese cinema.
So it paved the way.
It paved the way.
For films like Godzilla and Gamera.
Oh, yeah, those are the big ones.
Yeah, and its influence extends beyond Japan as well.
It does.
The Mysterians was one of the first Japanese sci-fi films to gain international recognition.
It opened the door for a lot of other Japanese films to find an audience in the West.
It introduced Western audiences to the unique style and storytelling of tokusatsu cinema.
It's a whole different world.
It is.
But it's a world that's full of imagination and wonder.
It's fascinating to see.
It is.
How the Mysterians helped to shape the global landscape of sci-fi cinema.
Yeah, its themes of technological advancement, the potential for destruction, the need for human connection. Those themes continue to be explored in countless films and television shows today.
So The Mysterians is not just a fun sci-fi adventure.
It's more than that.
It's a film that has had a lasting impact.
Absolutely.
On the genre.
Both in Japan and around the world.
Yeah, it's a film that deserves to be remembered.
It does.
And appreciated for its contributions to cinema history.
It's like a landmark film.
And I think it's a testament to the film's enduring power.
It is.
That we're still talking about it today.
I mean, over 6 decades.
Over 6 decades after its initial release.
People are still watching it.
Yeah.
They're still talking about it.
It continues to spark conversation and inspire new generations of filmmakers and fans.
It's a classic.
Now, as we delve deeper into the legacy of the Mysterians,
Okay.
I want to turn our attention to its influence on subsequent sci-fi productions, particularly within the Toho studio.
Okay.
We've already mentioned Moguera's appearance in later Godzilla films.
Yeah.
But the film's impact goes beyond just that one iconic monster.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, the Mysterians served as a springboard for a whole wave of space-themed epics from Toho.
Like what?
Like Battle in Outer Space,
Right.
Gorath,
Okay.
which further explored those anxieties about the unknown and humanity's place in the cosmos.
It's like Toho took the seeds planted by the Mysterians.
They did.
And cultivated them into a whole garden of sci-fi adventures.
It's a beautiful garden.
It is.
Full of strange and wonderful creatures.
And those later films owe a lot to the Mysterians.
They do.
In terms of visual style, special effects, thematic concerns.
The legacy of the Mysterians can be seen in the elaborate sets.
Right.
The dazzling explosions and the thought-provoking narratives.
That characterized Toho's sci-fi output in the years that followed.
It's like the Mysterians provided a blueprint for a particular kind of sci-fi storytelling.
Yeah.
One that blended spectacle with social commentary. And that blueprint was then used to create a whole series of compelling and influential films.
And that influence wasn't limited to Japan.
No, it wasn't.
The Mysterians also made its mark on international cinema. Particularly in the United States.
It's interesting how the American release of the Mysterians sparked a range of reactions.
I can imagine.
Some critics dismissed it as a typical B-movie,
Sure.
while others recognized its deeper themes and its reflection of Cold War anxieties.
Interesting.
And some even interpreted it as communist propaganda, which shows just how deeply ingrained those Cold War anxieties were at the time.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that a film can be interpreted in many different ways, depending on the audience's cultural background and the historical context in which it's viewed.
It's fascinating to see how the Mysterians transcended cultural boundaries.
It did.
Provoking discussions and interpretations that went beyond its intended meaning.
It became a cultural touchstone, reflecting the anxieties and aspirations of a generation grappling with the uncertainties of the Cold War era.
And that's part of what makes the Mysterians such an enduring film.
It is.
It's more than just a monster movie or a sci-fi adventure.
It's a reflection of humanity itself.
Yeah.
Our fears, our aspirations, and our capacity for both good and evil.
It's a film that speaks to the universal power of storytelling.
It does.
The ability of film to transcend cultural boundaries and connect with people on a deeper level.
On a human level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, as we wrap up our deep dive into the Mysterians, I want to leave our listener with one final thought.
Okay.
We've talked about the Mysterians' genetic crisis.
Right.
Their desperate search for a solution.
Yeah.
And their ultimately destructive actions. But could their story also be seen as a reflection of our own anxieties?
Oh, that's a good question.
Not just about nuclear war.
Yeah.
But about the long-term consequences of our actions.
On this planet.
On this planet.
Are we facing our own Mystroid moment?
Whoa.
It's a chilling thought.
It is.
But one that's worth considering.
Yeah.
The Mysterians may be a product of its time.
Yeah.
But its message of caution, responsibility, and the need for cooperation
resonates just as strongly today.
It does.
And as we grapple with our own global challenges, perhaps it's a reminder that the choices we make today
will determine the fate of our own planet.
So the next time you watch the Mysterians, don't just enjoy the giant robots and the thrilling battles.
No.
Think about the deeper questions it raises.
Yeah.
The parallels to our own world and what it means to be human in an age of unprecedented technological advancement and global interconnectedness.
That's the challenge, isn't it?
It is.
Figuring out how to navigate this complex world.
That's it for our deep dive into the Mysterians.
I hope you enjoyed the ride.
We hope you've enjoyed this journey into the world of classic sci-fi cinema.
It's a fun one.
And that it sparks some interesting thoughts and discussions.
Always more to learn.
Always more to learn.
More to explore.
Or more to explore.
Yeah, question.
Keep diving deeper.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you on our next adventure.
See you next time.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Mysterians. So far, we've explored the film's Cold War context, its impressive visuals, and its thought-provoking characters.
It's a film that's packed with ideas.
It really is. But we haven't talked much about how the film was received, both in Japan and internationally. What can you tell us about that?
Well, the Mysterians was a box office success in Japan.
That makes sense.
Which isn't surprising given its thrilling story and those groundbreaking special effects.
Right. I mean, those effects were really something else.
They were cutting edge for their time.
They were.
The film captured the imaginations of audiences who were eager for escapism and entertainment.
Sure.
But it also tapped into some of their anxieties about the future.
Right. I mean, the Cold War was a very real and present danger back then.
Absolutely. It was a time of great uncertainty and fear.
And as we mentioned earlier, it also found an audience internationally, particularly in the United States.
Yeah, The Mysterians was one of the first Japanese sci-fi films to really make a splash in the West.
But the reception there was a bit more mixed, right?
It was. The American release of The Mysterians is an interesting case study in how cultural differences can influence the reception of a film.
How so?
Well, some critics praised its visual flair and imaginative story.
I could see that.
But others dismissed it as a silly B-movie with clunky special effects.
I guess that's a matter of taste.
It is. And you have to remember that American audiences weren't as familiar with tokusatsu cinema at that time.
Right. So they might not have had the same appreciation for the over-the-top style and the practical effects.
Exactly. And as you mentioned earlier, some even saw it as communist propaganda.
Wow. That's pretty extreme.
It is, but it shows just how charged the political atmosphere was at the time. People were looking for communists everywhere.
So the film became a kind of Rorschach test for Cold War anxieties.
You could say that. It's a reminder that a film can be interpreted in many different ways, depending on the viewer's cultural background and the historical context in which it's viewed.
It's fascinating to see how a film can transcend cultural boundaries while also reflecting the specific anxieties and concerns of a particular time and place.
It's a testament to the power of film to both unite and divide us.
And to provoke thought and discussion.
Exactly.
So even though The Mysterians is a product of its time, it also speaks to universal themes that resonate with audiences across cultures and generations.
Absolutely. It's a film that has something to say about the human condition, about our relationship with technology, and about the choices we face as a species.
And that's one of the things that makes it so enduring. It's not just a piece of entertainment. It's a film that makes you think, that challenges you to consider different perspectives, and that stays with you long after the credits roll.
I couldn't agree more. It's a film that deserves to be rediscovered and reappraised by each new generation.
Absolutely. Okay, if we wrap up this deep dive into The Mysterians, I want to circle back to something we touched upon earlier, the film's message about the importance of cooperation in the face of existential threats.
A timely message if there ever was one.
It really is. It resonates powerfully in today's world as we face global challenges like climate change, pandemics, and political instability.
The Mysterians, with their advanced technology and their willingness to use force, serve as a reminder of the dangers that can arise when we fail to work together to address common threats.
It's like a cautionary tale for our times.
It is. It's a reminder that we're all in this together, whether we like it or not.
And the formation of the Earth Defense Force in the film highlights the potential for international collaboration to solve global problems. It's a hopeful message that suggests we have the capacity to overcome even the most daunting challenges if we can put aside our differences and work together for the common good.
It's a vision of a future where nations recognize their shared humanity and work together for the benefit of all.
A future where cooperation trumps competition.
Exactly.
A future where we choose collaboration over conflict.
So as we reflect on the legacy of the Mysterians, I think it's important to remember that it's more than just a sci-fi classic. It's a film that speaks to our deepest fears and our highest aspirations. It's a film that challenges us to think critically about the world around us and to consider our role in shaping the future. It's a film that asks us what it means to be human in an age of technological marvels and existential threats.
It's a film that invites us to imagine a better world and to work together to make that vision a reality.
And that's a message that's worth sharing with the world.
Absolutely. Well, that's it for our deep dive into the Mysterians. We hope you've enjoyed exploring this fascinating film with us. And remember, there's always more to discover, more to learn, and more to question. Keep diving deeper, and we'll catch you on our next adventure.
Until next time, stay curious.